Operation Domination is underway. The ultimate game plan to dominate your NFL experience. With your hosts, Dan
you gotta be confident about your Achilles when you
Chase
show up.
Thornton,
Yeah, I mean, I got him
and Adam LaRue. Don't hope to win. Be great and dominate.
Well, all right. Welcome back in to Operation Domination. Don't hope to win, be great, and dominate. As always, I'm your host, Dan Mater. Make sure you download Operation Domination on your favorite podcast app and check out our video content when you go to Fantasy Football Advice Network at ffadvicenet on YouTube. It is time for your conference championships best bets as we continue to line your pockets green through this 2025-2026 postseason. And to help me do that is none other than Chas Filardi of Sports Betting Weekly. What's up, Chas?
All right, so my question is, I got to get out of my settings because I'm not seeing you. Not that I really see you because I'm looking here. The voiceover, the domination voiceover?
Yes.
Who is that?
Some guy I found on Fiverr who could do the voice impressions pretty well.
No, if you're an online person and you're looking at, trying to keep it in America, it's the labor cost is really high, and Fiverr isn't even $5 anymore.
No,
it should be called tenner.
It should
or 15er. To be honest with you.
But the job got done, so I like
it.
No,
it's great. That's one of the reasons that I caught it. Yeah, because we're with the Indiana footballs, part of the Google Ads process is you got to have videos made, which I'll get when I get back from Vegas. But no one likes to listen to their own voice, and my voice is my voice. I mean, I'm not taking voice lessons anytime soon. You know what I mean? So yeah, Fiverr works well. All right, so. The other thing is this. My wife says to me, you're going to Vegas with your son who's a Broncos fan, even though their quarterback is hurt, which was devastating. If you're any type of sports fan, that's just devastating. But if you're a Bronco fan, it's really hard. So I heard him talking this morning to his mother about the buzz that's out there of how well Sean Payton has done with the backups before, this, and that. And I'm laughing. I'm saying, that sounds like a desperate fan holding on to any hope they can get.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will lead off the show with a hot take because I think a lot of people are going to adamantly disagree with me on this one and come after me on social media at DanMaterFF, by the way. Love it. Don't care. I don't think there is a big gap between Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. And I know that's blasphemous for a lot of people out there, but what Bo Nix is he's a guy who runs a little bit, game manages within the Sean Payton offense, only performs within the context of that offense, doesn't really do anything extra. And that's exactly what you're going to probably get at Jarrett Stidham, maybe at a slightly less level. But I don't think there's a huge gap there. I don't think this is going to come down to because the backup quarterback was in there. I think it's going to come down to, can the Broncos defense be elite against who should be the MVP of the league in Drake May? That's what's going to come down to for me.
Yeah, and here's the other aspect of it. It isn't that you're a backup and you're getting stuck in there, early in the second quarter. You got on the plane. Well, they were home. You got in your car knowing that you were starting quarterback next week. So that makes a big difference too.
It's Denver. They got on a snowplow. Went back.
There you go. Yeah.
Went back to the house. But yes, obviously it's our first game. We're only talking about 2 games here. Thankfully for you guys, and I'll write about this in my Huddle article that'll come out later in the week, but I was still able to come up with 10 player props I felt pretty good about. So the action's going to stay the same on my side, even though we only have 2 games here to talk about because it is the championship conference round. And we do have the Broncos and the Patriots. Patriots going into Denver. That game's going to be at 3 o'clock Sunday. The NFC matchup's going to be at 6:30. The Patriots are favored in this game on the road at 5.5. Clearly a reflection of the fact that it is a backup quarterback for the Denver Broncos. The total is at 42.5. The Denver Broncos defense is legitimate, okay? And Drake May, for as great as he is and as fantastic as he's played, has not been in this position as of yet. Not to say that I think he's going to lay the egg or anything like else. He's not, but he did have a ton of turnovers against Houston. The problem was Houston wasn't able to capitalize because their own offense had their own set of issues. I do expect the Denver Broncos to keep this game close. I think 5.5 is too aggressive. And again, like I said, I don't think it's a huge downgrade, or at least not as much as people think, between Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. I do think the Denver Broncos cover at 5.5. What do you got, Chaz?
All right, so let's see what we got. Again, it's so hard, right? For two reasons. It's hard for two reasons. One is, again, you can bet these teams all year, and now they're playing each other. So it's a tough one, because both New England and Denver, New England's come out of my mouth more. Denver mostly in the second half. The Rams in the second half as well. Seattle, I had them quite a bit too, but not as much, I don't think, as New England. So here's what it shows me. In the first quarter, New England isn't giving up any points. In the first half, New England isn't giving up any points. One of the things that I'm actually learning this year, I mean, think about it. You learn constantly in this business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That
the trends have nothing to do with against the spread, because you could have a game that goes over, a team that has over 8 straight. San Francisco was a good example of that. Right? San Francisco was over. Seattle was under last week. And it went over. But Seattle got all the points. So it's a unique thing. But in the first half, so far, in their last 7 games, New England is 6-0-1 against the spread. They've allowed 10 or less in 9 of 10. Here's the thing. You made a comment about New England or Denver's defense, right? Do you know Denver this season, it took 15.2 yards to get a point, and they averaged giving up 18 points a game. And if you do the math, it's about 280 yards a game, right?
Correct.
Last week had their best yards against the point on defense, because at week 13 it was 15.7. So every 15.7 you get a point. Then for the season it ended at 15.2. 15.2 is less than 50, so you're getting more points the more yards you get. Last week it was the lowest yet. It was 15, which sounds great, right? Until you realize they gave up 449 yards. If you give up 449 yards, you can't tell me you got an elite defense. There's a problem there. Now, is Josh Allen the greatest? Well, you beat him, so he can't be the greatest thing ever, right?
Well, they beat him. They beat him because they generated those turnovers in key situations. That's why they beat him.
But the bottom line is 449 is 449. You should not see that in an elite defense. That's all I'm saying. So, does that impact me? Not at all, because, again, I'm going to follow your trends because I'm looking for who's going to score touchdowns in this game.
And that's what you're always looking for. Always looking for. Like I said, I do have props, most of them in the NFC game, but I do have 3 for you in this AFC matchup. So let's go. Ramondre Stevenson receiving yards. I have over 20.5. I have him projected for about 28 heading into this game. He's been over the 20.5 receiving yard mark 6 of the last 7 games. Last week was the game he actually went under this mark, but he still had 4 targets and 4 receptions. It just went for 14 yards. That's an aberration. Typically speaking, when a running back gets 4 receptions in a game, he's going to go over 20.5 yards. I expect him to continue that trend this week. Okay, so Courtland Sutton, his involvement has varied distinctively over the last few weeks. I have him under 4.5 receptions heading into this game, having projected for 3 to 4. So I'm using that hook here to come into my benefit. He's been under that mark the last 3 games in a row. Little bit concerning just because Jarrett Stidham's in there. Backup quarterback may lock on to his number 1 target, but I do expect Sean Payton to make this a run-first offense and spread the ball around like he typically does, which means Courtland Sutton doesn't get overfed. And the Patriots defense is pretty good with Christian Gonzalez. It's a bad matchup, so give me the under at 4.5. Stephon Diggs hit this bet last week, trying to hit it again this week. I have him under 4.5 receptions. He had 4 last week, so again, playing that hook to my advantage. I am projected again from 3 to 4 this particular week. He's been under 4.5 receptions 6 of the last 8. even when he's involved in key moments, he's not overly involved throughout the game as long as Kayshon Boutte is healthy, and he is. So under 4.5 for Stephon Diggs. That's my props for the AFC match.
Well, let's look at those three. We'll start with those three. Stevenson, right? Week 16 got a touchdown.
Yep.
Week 17, guess what? Back-to-back touchdowns. Week 18, he topped that. He went back-to-back-to-back. 3 touchdowns in Week 18. Wild card game, New England had 1 touchdown. And in the division game, they had a defensive touchdown. Douglas scored, and Boutte scored. Now, so my sheet, and I'll hold it up for you. You can't really see it, but it starts with season ending. Who's got the most rushing touchdowns? Henderson has 9. Stevenson has 7. Who has the most receiving? Henry has 7. Boutte has 6. So they scored a lot of touchdowns, right? But nobody is jumping off the page as the main guy. Like who was it for the Rams? Right, Adams. Right when they're in the red zone. Right, yeah. Right. So this is the game where you're going to be able to get a decent option on touchdowns. Now the question is, Dan, how many touchdowns are they going to score? Right? Because these 2 defenses are good. They are. I mean, I was making fun of them because 449 is 449. But again, the next, right? Next, they don't care. They're coming back. They're going to play New England tough. So that's. I don't have a play yet on the touchdowns, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be nice. You could catch somebody scoring a touchdown that is double digits. There's no doubt about it in this game.
Well, and it's one of the reasons that you just laid out there. We didn't really talk about it too much, but the over under on the game being a 42.5. It's a low enough line with 2 competitive teams. I don't necessarily want to bet against it going over, but I wouldn't be shocked, being how these 2 teams are made up, that it went under, because these are 2 teams that will rely on their defenses and opportunistic moments for their offense, not necessarily going out there trying to score in droves anyway. So it wouldn't surprise me either way on that line. That's why
and you're right, because they're 2 smart coaches. They're 2 coaches that are defense, run the ball. Nobody's slinging it 47 times in this game.
Correct. Absolutely not. So we have that game. And then we have the NFC Conference Championship game, another divisional rivalry game in the NFC West, as that has clearly made itself the most dominant division in football this past year. The Rams will go into Seattle. This game again at 6:30 in Seattle. The Seahawks are favored at 2.5 points. So it was a really close line. Total is 46.5. Remember, the last time these 2 teams played, it went into overtime in Seattle, where the Seahawks won 38-37, which it would surprise me if it was that high scoring again this time around, just given how these 2 teams have played as of late. But when you have 2 divisional matchups like this, these 2 teams here who know each other well throughout the regular season, a lot of different things can happen in a lot of different ways, which makes it, to be honest with you, a little bit more difficult to bet. I think Seattle should be favored after how they looked against San Francisco, the fact that it's in Seattle, but I do think the Rams are a bad matchup for the Seahawks team, because unlike San Francisco, the Rams actually have firepower. They actually have Puka Nacua. They have Devontae Adams. They have Kyren Williams. They have Matthew Stafford having one of his best years. And their offensive line, this is the key issue here. Their offensive line has been getting a little bit healthier over the past few weeks. Everybody's been wondering, why have the Rams not looked like the Rams over the past couple of weeks, even though they've been winning these playoff games in the end? Their offensive line's been begged up. Well, I don't know if they're going to have everybody back, but they should have 4 of the 5 pieces back for this game, which can make a huge difference as well. I am not betting this game when it comes to the over-under. I'm not betting this game when it comes to the line at 2.5. I see too much of a wide variance either way. Chaz, what do you see?
In the first quarter, week 1, Seattle played the 49ers. You probably remember that game. And the 49ers scored a touchdown. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight weeks. So that's months. 8 straight weeks. Nobody scored a touchdown on Seattle in the first quarter. Then they played the Rams, and the Rams put up 14. Then they went again. No touchdowns. And then they played the Rams, no touchdowns. That was it. They played the Rams here, right? Mm-hmm. In November, they gave up 14. They didn't even give up 14 points the rest of the season in all those games. So that's something that jumps out at me. But we talked about it, I think, earlier last week with the 49ers. All their games were over, and Seattle was under. And if Seattle wins, you think it's going to go under, but they scored 40 points and put it over almost by themselves, On the Rams side, their last 7 games, 16 or less points they have allowed. 37 got put up when they played Seattle, right?
Yeah.
38. That was that crazy. That was a late game. It was a Thursday night it was a Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, whatever it was.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great night. So you know what I neglected to talk about for the New England is the playoffs. So let's just go back there real quick for the playoffs. New England on the road in quarter 1 is 1-7 against the spread. Now the last was 20-22. So you take that with what you want. But you didn't think about that when you think about, the Patriots, Brady Belichick era, that they started slow, Denver in the first quarter, in their last 6 games, all have gone over 6 of 6. So that's that. Now for this game, the Rams game, the Rams scored 7+ in 5 of 6 first quarters. On the road, same thing, 5 of 6, 7+ in the first quarter. So again, a total opposite of what we're talking about with that first game. Seattle, all their home games in the playoffs, 6 of 7 have gone over. That goes back to 2017. In the first quarter, they've allowed 3 or less. The same stat that we're talking about for the regular season this year is the same stat for the playoffs at home, and that goes back to 2014. Again, knowing this stuff is great, but when you're sitting live in the Circa and stuff, or I'm going to be at the Westgate, the Superbook, and stuff happens, you got to be ready to adapt. So let's look at the touchdowns. The Rams, Williams and Corum, right? Are 16 of their rushing touchdowns, or those 2 guys. Adams, 14 touchdowns this year, Nakua 10, Parkinson 8. Now, if you look at this, so I start with week 15, 16, 17, 18, wild card, conference or division, and then to see what I'm looking at. Last week, the Rams only scored twice. Williams got both of them. The game before that, Nakua got 2, Williams got 1, Parkinson got 1. The game before that, Parkinson got 2, Nakua and Higbee. So the guys that led him for the season are also scoring here at the end. Seattle, number 1, Charbonnet. Oh, that's tough, right? That's a big out in this game. I mean, it's a big out. And, I'm not saying Nix isn't a big out, but those are both two important players to their team that are not in this game.
It's huge for Seattle. Huge.
Yeah. And the Seahawks, Shaheed, on this sheet, not only a punt return, for a kickoff return for touchdowns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks apart. He took it to the house. That is something. I've got a couple defensive touchdowns. The Rams had one recently. McMillan for Denver had one, and that's the world that I live in. I will have in both of these games, there will be a touchdown on defense or special teams. And the beauty of it is I teased it with one bet last weekend, but not only did it, I think it was 3 of the 4 games had it, but the national championship game had one, the block punt for a touchdown. So those are always fun. You triple your money. Yeah, you sit down at a crap table, you may not triple your money. You may be broke before the dice gets to you, So yeah, so these are just as going to be. These are really games that the point spread, as you mentioned it. The point spread doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. It's just, if you got a better feel for it, go for it. Otherwise, forget it. Bet those quarters like Chas is talking about. All right, so I do have 7 player props in this matchup. So let's get it. Matthew Stafford, I have him over the passing yards to 254.5. I know that sounds aggressive against the Seattle defense right now, but Matthew Stafford has been over the last 7 games, including a 457-yard performance versus Seattle in that overtime matchup. It can be done, and I like Stafford to do it. And by the way, that game was in Seattle. So I guess
last week they gave up 266. Winner, chicken dinner.
Exactly. So I want Stafford over 254.5 passing yards. Okay, next I got Kenneth Walker. We talked about Zach Charbonnet being out. That means more work for Kenneth Walker. His rushing yards prop is sitting at 85.5. Even with Kenneth Walker involved, he's been over that 3 of the last 4. And now I'm looking at the real possibility that he gets 20 plus carries in this game against a Rams defense that you can run on. So give me Kenneth Walker over 85.5 rushing yards. Then you got Colby Parkinson. His receiving yards prop is very, very low. Again, this is a reflection of the fact you're playing the Seattle defense, but you can attack them over the middle. We saw Jake Ton just do it. Even though he had the fumble, he still led the team in receiving yards. Parkinson's receiving yards prop is still at 22.5. He's been over that 8 of the last 9 games. I have him projected in the mid-30s, so one of my bigger edges of the week. So give me Colby Parkinson over 22.5 receiving yards. JSN receptions over 6.5. He's been over that 4 of the last 6. I know the 2 games that he's been under were the last 2 games, but think about this. The last 2 games he's played against San Francisco. Maybe San Francisco has just had an answer for JSN as part of their game plan, because every other team he's played before that, those last 4, including the Rams, he went over 6.5 receptions. I expect him to be involved in this game again too. Kyren Williams, we talked about him, but I'm on his receiving yards prop here, 12.5. People seem to forget that Kyren Williams is as involved in the passing game as he is because he's splitting this time with Blake Corum. But the fact is that Kyren Williams, when it comes to 2-minute drill, or when the Rams are in their 2-minute offense in general, Kyren Williams is the guy back there for the receiving yards prop because he has the better experience and the better pass protector. He's been over 12.5 receiving yards the last 5 games. So give me Kyren Williams over 12.5 receiving yards. Then we talk about Rashid Shaheed. He's a great returner, but he hasn't really been on the field or involved as a wide receiver all that much. I am taking the under 2.5 receptions mark. He's been under that the last 4, and in those last 4 games, he has not had more than 1 reception. That is not his role within this offense. Give me the under 2.5 for Rashid Shaheed receptions. And last but certainly not least, this might shock some people, but Devontae Adams receptions, I'm going under on the 4.5 mark. I have him between 3 and 4 projected. He's been under 4.5, 4 of the last 5. His role, especially since he's been injured, has been more restricted to red zone, or he has the comeback volume. That's the only time he's gone over this mark, when he had 13 targets and 5 receptions against the Carolina Panthers. Otherwise, he's been under 4.5 receptions. He's not as involved as Puka Nacua between the 20s. So give me the under on that as well.
So the ones that you said over, their names are splattered on the touchdown sheet, except for him.
Yeah,
he hasn't scored since week 15. I don't know when was the last. That's a guy that leads your team in touchdown receptions, has not scored since at least week 14. Because
to be fair, he's only played 2 games.
Right. But you can't be in the rhythm with everybody if
Correct.
You're not on the field.
Correct. And this is not a Seattle secondary where I think he's going to overly be, involved or have to get a boost at least in the matchup, to put it that way. So I think that's one that's people are going to look at me and go like, but I mean that the data supports it right now.
There was one name we haven't mentioned. I didn't mention it, and you didn't mention it. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Okay.
He burned me last week.
Right, he burned you last week.
Yep.
And I saw with my own eyes because it cost me money. but I think he's gonna. I think he's not on any sheet, right?
No.
I think he's going to make a play or two. I really do.
He might. He might. And what was funny is like he burned me last week because he got 46 yards or whatever it was like that. But it all came in the first half. He did nothing in the second half. So he went back to.
But no, they went to him early.
Yeah, they just went to him
early.
early.
It was like, and one of them was one of the passes was over the total by itself. I think, if I remember correctly,
Close to it.
Yeah, he had a big one.
Yeah, it was close to it. It was very weird being that we hadn't seen it in such a long time. But yeah, he's not on any of my sheets for this week. Well, that does it. So just for funsies, not for a bet here, for funsies, Chaz, if you had to pick who's going to be their Super Bowl matchup in 2 weeks, who would it be?
I don't see anybody beating Seattle.
Okay. That's fair.
I mean, I've watched them now. The guy's 28-2 or 4, right? I mean, give him and think about what you got to do to have the only other player in history do it be Tom Brady. I mean, if you're a quarterback and you do something that only Tom Brady did, that can inflate your ego a little for sure. I don't think it's a problem with this guy because remember, it was darkest before the dawn for this guy. Remember?
Yeah.
You get drafted by the Jets. You're in New York. You're thinking life is good. And then reality kicks in that, it's the greatest city in the world, but it's also the worst franchise in the world. And I'm talking like soccer franchises that are run better than the Jets are.
There's a lot of franchises run better than the Jets are. Yeah, no, right now, Seattle, especially after last weekend, looked like they were far and above the dominant team. Now, they were probably playing the weakest team left in the playoffs, but they look far and above like the dominant team right now.
And that's why this Sunday's game is a big deal because and I know that when you're playing the division opponent, everything's out the door.
Yeah. It's why it makes it more difficult to bet. Unless you're betting, my favorite one to bet in divisional games typically is the underdog, especially when the underdog is like 7 points or more in the spread line. That's when I bet that because the divisional games are so wonky. In a game like this, again, 2.5 line, it's not quite a pick 'em, but we're basically knocking on the door of a pick 'em here. It's not even.
I mean, there were 8 games. There were 8 teams playing last week. 3 of them came from your team's division. 3 of the 8.
Yep.
3 out of 8 is a big percentage, man.
Especially, yeah. It makes you feel good that you are part of an elite competition and also makes you kind of query if you're a 49ers fan like me, at least, that you have a long way to go to kind of make sure you stay at the top of the heap or competing at the top of the heap. Because
and if of all these stadiums, right, you could talk about all the stadiums, 32 stadiums, maybe 5 of them have a real home field advantage, right?
Agreed.
Seattle is right up there, and Mile High is right up there. Mile High, because the bottom line is, as soon as you won, you got to go to Denver. You can't go home. You got to go home, pick up a bag, and go to Denver. You got to get acclimated to that stuff. And Seattle, you can't hear. And I think it was Brady when he was talking about it, how it's you can't hear. You can't hear. You're in the huddle. You can't hear. Those are home field advantages, and that's worth 3 points there for sure.
Yeah, that's 100% with you. There's certain stadiums that you get a true home field advantage. Seattle has to be, if they're not number one, they're amongst the number one.
Well, don't they own the record for decibels? I think they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. The way they build that stadium is absolutely insane. That's what gives them such a home field advantage. Plus the fans, they are cheering their butts off, but the stadium amplifies that.
No, when there are certain places where the fans are big time passionate, and it definitely leans more towards Saturdays in college football, without a doubt. Sure. But those 12, they take it serious.
Oh yeah. They absolutely. That's why they had a nickname for themselves. So hats off to them. It'll definitely be a good game there. I think both these games are going to be close and competitive as we head into Sunday. And if your team's not in it and you're betting like we are, you want to hit your bets and you want to see good football. And I think we are going to see that coming up this weekend. But that's going to do it for the show. I want to make sure you guys download Operation Domination on your favorite podcast app and check out our video content on the Fantasy Football Advice Network at ffadvicenet. Chaz, you talked about Indiana. By the way, congrats off to Indiana fans. But how's that looking for you over at championshipfootballs.com?
Well, they're going to be beautiful footballs. Think about it. They won the Big Ten. They won the Rose Bowl. They won the national championship. And they came into the year with the most losses in NCAA football history. I mean, that just is mind-boggling.
And went undefeated.
Yeah.
Went undefeated.
And so, no, it was exciting. And there, we talked about teams that are good on all phases. Well, they blocked the punt for a touchdown. They got great defense. They got great offense. They're a team to be reckoned with, except that now the world of college football is all 1-year contracts, basically.
Oh,
That's
sure.
really what it is. You know,
Yeah.
That's why they're suing the Duke guy. He left Tulane to go to Duke. He wants to go somewhere else. Duke says, "No, what are you doing? You signed the contract, man."
Oh, yeah.
So championshipfootballs.com. We're selling those now, and they're going real well. But it's a passionate fan base. We're excited to be and proud to give them a product that's worthy of that championship.
And talk about a collector's item, because that might be a once in a lifetime type of deal. Because I don't know, if I'm the Raiders, maybe Signetti comes back to Indiana. I don't know, but if I'm the Raiders, I'm not just trying to draft Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 pick. I'm trying to figure out how I can get get Signetti in the building as the head coach on top of it. That's
well. Here's my thought, and again, because my son's a Denver fan and my wife is a Baltimore fan. They used to be a Charger fan. The Raiders are a part of my life, whether I want it to be or not. However, that being said, having Tom Brady in the conversation changes it. There's not another player, I don't think, that is respected for what it takes to be great. Think about it. If you're going to divorce her, you're really into your career, man. I'm saying. I'm just saying,
It's a good way to put it. You're not wrong at all. Oh, man. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the offseason. By the way, we'll be covering offseason stuff on Operation Domination every single week. But until then, hopefully we line your pockets green. And Chas, as you always like to say.
Yeah, this weekend especially, always be cashing.
Have a good one. We'll see you guys next week.